So let's see. Finishing up on my backstory. I know when I had my near-death experiences, I could have died because I had head trauma. But I realized I had to finish my karma with my dad. So obviously I didn't leave. Because, it's very tricky to set up future lifetimes with people that you want to finish business with.
Yes.
I mean, it's not that easy. I mean, it takes a lot of coordination and a lot of staff meetings on the other side. So I don't know how long it took myself and my parents to agree to come into this lifetime. But I knew that I didn't want to come back and have to do it all over again, in a sense. So I thought, okay, I would stick it out here. But I was lucky that I didn't have permanent damage to my body in both those injuries, which, yeah, I could have gone.
Can you share about that karmic experience with your father, or is that?
Well, he just never agreed with me, and he never understood me. And
so what was your, basically?
I think the karma was for me not, well, to know that my dad loved me, but to also realize that he may never understand me as long as he has a body here, and to make that okay. Because, I think for us, if you're a guy, really deep down, you want approval or a recognition from your dad. And if you're a girl, same thing with your mother. On a very core level. If you don't get that, you're kind of messed up, internally. You don't feel whole. You feel like maybe something's wrong because, Mom didn't acknowledge me completely, didn't love me. Same thing with Dad. So I think, and just in looking at this, that I had to get along with my dad. Maybe that's why I had to stay with him at his house and take care of my mom in her latter days when she got paralyzed. But I had to, not be upset about my dad's perception of me or where my life was going, where he thought where I was, because he never accepted me in whatever I did, especially in the healing arts. Never accepted me, never acknowledged it. There was never any thank yous or anything like that. It's just that he never thought I would amount to anything. Of which I didn't in his eyes till the day he died. And I helped him to make the transition. I was the only one in the family. But now he does. So I tell people, if your parents don't see you now, they will when they're on the other side. Because now both my parents see who I am. It's all good, of course. It's all better now than what it was when they left, because of course they didn't see me then, because they just, for whatever reason, maybe too stuck in their own belief system about reality. Because mine was always different. I was the black sheep of the whole extended family. On my grandmother's, my dad's mom, grandma's side, she had a lot of kids. She had, 5 girls and my dad, so she had 6 kids, and they all had married, had kids, they had kids, so of all that extended family, I was the only one that went metaphysical. Only one out of all those people. So I was like the black sheep. I was like the one that went hippie and he got a degree, well, that's something, but he can't get a job, he can't hold down a job, he can't get a girlfriend, it's all this stuff, right? It's okay, whatever. Except my cousin was a little bit, she's semi-metaphysical, but other than us two, no. So I still came out of a very traditional conservative Methodist upbringing. Lovely people. They're all aunts and uncles, all lovely people, but just if you were to have a conversation metaphysically, they couldn't do it.
They just have a block, resist.
No, it's just
It's
they
not
weren't
the
into
universe.
They weren't into it. It's like, okay, they got the church teachings, that's good enough. We go to church, we pray, we're good. But it's like the Catholics, it's like the Baptists, it's like what we do is of the devil, and okay, sayonara, see you later. Can't talk to these people because, yeah, they got blinders on. They won't listen. And what did Jesus say about that? See, I mean, I've got these answers to come back to these people if they ever want to come to my, knock on my door and want to convert me.
What do you say?
Well, I say, first of all, what did Jesus teach? What did he teach? Didn't he teach you to common knowledge? Like, treat your neighbor like you treat yourself, basically. Do no harm. Put no gods before you. Do unto others what you would like them to do to you, right? Golden rule, basically. He only had a few teachings. Golden rule was one. Seek the kingdom. Did he tell you to go convert the world, to go convert Africa and Russia? Did he? I don't think so. Did he teach you to create a church under his name? I don't think so. Oh, what do you know of the baptism? What was that all about? I bet you they can't tell me. We did a baptism in the retreat in Australia. That was pretty cool. That put some people through. I still think they're still thinking about what the hell happened. We had a pool, magnesium pool, where we did the baptism. So I got this download to do a baptism on the 5th day for the retreat attendees. So I asked them. I didn't explain much. I just said, you want to do a baptism in the pool? Okay, we'll do it. They all brought bathing suits, so this is good. So I held their nose so they wouldn't like swallow water, because I knew if I didn't plug up their nose, there are going to be some of these people that are going to like take the water up in their nose and they're going to like drown there in like 2 feet of water. So I held their nose. I put my head at the back of their neck here, so they're down like this, and they're kind of sitting with their legs out in like 2 feet of water, and the water's cold. But none of them complained about the cold water at that point, right? Which is kind of obvious. What the hell is going to happen? So I give them a wave, and then they go back like that. And then when the water comes up to like about here, I hold them up to about like here. Although with a few, the water went up to like here. But I could tell most of the people were afraid of the water, and they were blow up their fuels or drowning and whatever, you know. So I would keep them down there, and I would keep them down there until energetically they are at like the peak of whatever experience they were going to have, and then I would bring them up like that, slowly like that, and then they would like, then I would let go of their nose, and then they would have this dazed look on their face, like, what the hell just happened? So part of it was kind of like a reenactment in a way of before when Jesus did it for people and John the Baptist did it, to bring back their memory of the teachings. It was also to help them heal any fear they had of water drowning or drowning in the ocean or being submerged and dying. I mean, you know, whatever, past life memory stuff. But also it was designed to help them to have a peak experience. A God connection, basically. That was the state I was holding for everybody. They all liked it, though, at the end.
Did they feel it, really?
But they didn't give me any feedback, personally, because I think they were digesting the experience. I think it, for some, went really deep, and you don't have any words to talk about it. It's really hard to understand that part. So, getting back... yeah, so basically for like 3 or 4 decades, I struggled with money. I struggled with jobs. I did jobs I hated. I was pretty much without money most of my life because family had some kind of karmic thing with money, and my grandparents had some kind of karmic thing, so I inherited that stuff. So I always had a hard time. And never, outside of my healing work, I never had a job I enjoyed in the world that I had to work for. Never. And I've been a waiter, I've been a dishwasher, a preschool teacher. Well, that was kind of fun, but it didn't pay hardly anything at all.
Yeah.
So based on our experience in Australia, and people came with a lot of pain in their bodies, incredible amount of pain. I'll give you one example. This is more of the extreme example, but this woman from New Zealand, I believe, shared on the second day, or maybe the first day, that she was just racked in pain, not only physically, but she was a mess internally. So on the fourth day, or the fifth day, she shared in front of the group. And everybody got a personal wave session during those almost 5 days, as well as the group activations. So they got 13 activations altogether. And they each had a personal wave experience on the mat of about 45 minutes. So she shared that she was totally free of pain, totally free. And it was like the first time in her life she felt not only free, but incredibly good. And she got a round of applause from everybody.
Wow, good.
But we don't know when these things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I think I remember. So I always ask people, what do you want for your wave experience? And I'm sure she mentioned something about her chronic pain and her disabilities and her other stuff. And so I don't do anything. I just hold their head, and then they fall backwards, and I catch them and I lay on the mat.
Yeah, I remember that because I did experience that.
Yeah, and then they're out for 45 minutes. And they get up, they don't say anything necessarily, but I ask them, anything you want to share? Some of them will share, some of them won't, because they're still in the middle of it, right? No words, so that's what could happen. We can have some person on day 1 or 2 is totally a mess, and day 4 or 5, brand new person. So we don't know how long she held that state, if she reverted back to the pain or if she's pain-free, don't know.
How many do you think, how many diseases or just pain is related to present life, and how many?
Oh, I think it's all
average,
past life. I think everything's past
mostly
life.
past
Everything,
life?
all childhood abuse, trauma, it's all from past life. It's a reenactment. All the stuff that's happening in the world, all the bullshit, all the craziness is all past life carryover from Atlantis, the battles, Lemuria, Atlantis, Syrian, galactic wars, all that crap. Maledict blowing up, all that. It's coming back again. So we can finally heal it. So nothing's ever new. So I believe that I've reached my goal, in a sense, of knowing how Jesus healed. And it's just a matter now of being more conscious of being in the state as much as I can. So in a way, you can call it a daily practice, in a sense. Because it's like when you learn to do yoga, right? It's hard at first because you're using muscles that you're not used to using in particular positions. So same thing with energetically, with holding Christ consciousness. So we're learning how to use muscles correctly so we can hold the state. So getting back to the healing part, so when we hold an open-ended unifying state of awareness for the client, then anything is possible for the client. But we always ask them, well, what would you like to experience in this session? And so they would say, yeah, I want to feel God connected. Because most people come to me because they want, why do they come to be for God connection? I don't know, but it's always the same thing. They always say that. It's like, I want to feel connected to God. And to me, that's the highest question you can ask, in a sense. I mean, if you're going to ask a question or you want to create some kind of result in your life, that would probably be the most, for me, the profound thing to ask for, right? Is your reconnection with Creator, or
Yes.
your sense of feeling reconnected with Creator. And then from that connection, you can create all things. Because then the kingdom is within,
Yes.
right? I mean, you can actually experience it as, oh yeah. So I'm experiencing that more and more as I get into my youthful older age. I'm actually in a way looking a little bit younger in my face, although I'm aging on an outward level.
No, but I think you do look more useful. Looking
yeah.
at your photos now,
Yeah.
and compared to the ones like from 5 years ago,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you do. I was actually
Yeah.
thinking about that, looking at your Facebook photo,
Yeah.
and I think Kenji is getting younger. You know, really
course.
More youthful.
more
So,
youthful. Yes, yes, yeah.
so I'm working in a sense on this whole thing of reversing the DNA conditioning that we all were brought up with. So as Greg Braden would say, using his words and sense, it's like working with deactivating the death code and activating the immortality code within your DNA, or the body's ability to live indefinitely in a state of health. Doesn't mean like for 500 years, just indefinitely. I like that because that could be,
Yes.
that's very open-ended. So one other key thing that I've learned over these years is whatever you want to manifest in your life, you have to embody it first here, and then it can become real, or else it just stays in a mental construct as a fantasy or as a daydream or as a possibility that may or may not happen. So if you can feel it, embody it, whatever state you want to create in the world for yourself, you have to experience it in your body. That's why I'm very big with grounding and being practical. So I've been told that people are going to be asked basically 2 questions when they leave the planet, however they go. And by the way, anybody could ascend by any means.
Anybody.
Anybody can ascend by any means. So even dying of a disease in a hospital can create the possibility of ascension. But look at it another way, which even makes more sense. Every time we die, we ascend. So what's the big deal? What is this thing about ascension anyway? Because if it's true that we ascend in every lifetime, and we've had countless lives here, and we've ascended every time, then what's the big deal? What is this thing? Somebody's making money off this ascension process stuff. When it doesn't have to be like this big deal. It's like, what? You know how to do it. But we're going to be asked basically 2 questions. What have you learned in this lifetime, and how have you loved? Which also implies how have you received love, as well as how did you give love? 2 questions, that's it. That's your life review. Well, plus whatever you're going to review of your life, but what have you learned? And
That is so true.
some people can't answer that if you ask them, because they've never contemplated that. Like, well, we've done like activations of a mini life review, a pretend life review, but I never get feedback on these events I do online. I rarely get feedback, but or I get it 5 years from now. That's more common. Like I'll get feedback from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was living in Seattle, it's like, oh man. Or 3 years ago from a radio show interview or something.
2 main questions. Could you repeat again?
What have you learned? And how have you loved?
Yes. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. So true. So simple.
Yeah. So if we ask that now of our life right now, instead of having to wait when the body's dying, but everybody has a life review, even these so-called enlightened spiritual teachers. Everybody has a life review. Everybody gets asked the same question. So if I was to teach anything, I would, from my life, I would teach about how to keep on trucking no matter what happens to you, because that's what I've done. In spite of everything from bankruptcy to homelessness, marriage and divorce, seeking for 35 years, 40 years maybe even. Mostly alone. The alone seeker. But really just how to have the strength to move through anything in your life. So I guess in a way I could be in a way a motivational kind of a person maybe.
Yeah.
How to survive two near-death experiences, a couple of God experiences when you're a baby, things like that. Polio.
You had polio.
I had polio on my back. The doctor said, well, if you get it again, son, you're either going to die or be paralyzed for life. And I thought as a 5-year-old, this is why I was thinking, I'm thinking, no. I went, no, I'm not buying that. I remember as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was true, but he believed it. I didn't even know I had it, but I ended up in the hospital. I don't remember much of how my parents figured out I was sick, but I didn't feel sick. But I had it on my back, apparently. So now I'm totally immune to that virus. How about that?
Yeah.
And I got hit by a car when I was 7, with a real car, with a real bumper, 35 miles an hour. I was on a flexi, one of those things they outlawed because of kids like me getting hit by a car on a flexi. They outlawed it, so they didn't sell it anymore in the toy stores. But something you lay down on and you kind of like, you know, steer it like this with little handlebar things. You're low to the ground. You do it on the sidewalk. But I had to cross the street because I got caught on the other side of the street by my mom. Got caught. Wasn't supposed to be across the street. So I went to paddle back, and there was a car. Oh, didn't see the car.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then I blacked out. I saw the car. I saw the bumper, like right here, and then felt no pain, and then blacked out. And then I woke up on the sidewalk. I'm not in pain, and all the neighbors were standing around me, looking at me, thinking, is he gonna die? Because I'm on the curb, and I'm all bent out of shape, I guess. You know, I got hit by a car and then like thrown to the gutter, I guess. And then all I was thinking was like, I got to get up to get my arm, which is across the street. So I think energetically, my energy was like where that car hit me, I think. And so now I'm over here physically, but some of my energy is still there. And I think I was trying to get my energy back. So I'm thinking my arm's over there and I got to go get it. And then I passed out. I heard the siren in the ambulance. And then next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital and I threw up. But here's the neat thing. When I came to, I knew I was going to throw up. How did I know that? Well, I didn't. And I said, nurse, quick, get me a bucket. Get it, throw up. And she came over and brought it. And I went, whoa. And of course, I knew what throwing up meant. I mean, as a 5-year-old, I know all that stuff. And
So what did it mean in that situation?
well, you're throwing up all that trauma that the body just
Oh, really?
experienced, right? Of being
Okay.
hit,
Okay,
right? The shock of it all.
I see.
Yeah. Collected in your solar plexus. Yeah. But how did I know I was going to throw up when I woke up? But I just knew. But I was so thankful the nurse had the bucket there because I didn't want to throw up on the floor. It's just like it would have been too messy. Apparently, I didn't have to have surgery, and apparently, everything healed up fine. But yeah, I could have died. And I think I relived it in meditation. Okay, why did I stick around? It was like because I didn't want to have to come back and deal with my dad. Basically, was learning to stand up for myself and just. We used to have energetic battles. He used to try to hit me because he would get angry at me for whatever reason. He never did hit me, but he always wanted to. He came really close, I just want to why, Dad? He always thought I was a pain in the ass. Being born. And that was the reason why he couldn't go to college. Well, then why'd you have me? That's dumb. You blame the kid for being born when you guys wanted to have the kid? Then you blame the kid because you couldn't go to college because you had to raise 2 kids? Why didn't you blame brother? Why you always blaming me? He always blamed me, never brother. Could never understand that either. Man, is he showing favoritism or what? And I had to do all the work in the house. Brother never done anything. But I got the allowance money.
And your president. You got allowance, but not your brother.
I got my allowance, but what?
But not your brother.
Well, he better not have gotten allowance because he never worked for anything. He better not have gotten it. And if he did, then man, he really did a job on my parents. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Okay, so to conclude, I guess that's it. Part 1, part 2 to be continued at some point in the near quantum future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.